going on? What's going on, people? You lot all good?
Yep.
Mr. Riley?
I'm alright.
Yeah?
I'm alive. That's the main thing. You get me?
So it's a bit warmer today, isn't it? So I guess
for now. For now. You know, that's what I'm saying, man. They always say God is a woman, innit? Because the weather can't make up his mind.
I know they say God is a woman for that reason.
I see it.
It was there, but
I'm just trying to trigger somebody in the comment section.
well, you're good at that. I've just seen invite them from the comment section under the podcast. You know what I'm saying? But all right, cool. So today is a very, very interesting topic. I wanted to talk about at what age do we, as just people in general, like children or obviously, you know, parents ourselves, what age do you think we should stop listening to our parents? And the reason why, I want to play a video in a sec, but the reason why I'm saying this is because obviously at some point you're going to have to go into the world, you're going to have to figure things out for yourself, innit? And what I'm seeing a lot right now online is there's a lot of, I would call it bad parenting based upon how their kids have reacted to what's going on. So for example, there's a video I know you sent me, or you put in a group, I think, about the Muslim woman. Or I don't know if she was even Muslim, but the woman that was sending her child to the Catholic school. And I think she was, I think originally they're Muslim, or I think their dad's Muslim.
Yeah. Different religions.
Yeah, in the household. Obviously, she's Christian,
but it's a Catholic school or whatnot.
It's a Catholic school. So the girl, obviously, the daughter now is about 11, and she just switched to now wanting to become a Muslim and practice it. So she's doing Ramadan and whatnot. So obviously, now she's gone back to a Catholic school, and the Catholic school are kind of obviously making up all these excuses and whatnot for it. And
you want to play
it? We could do. Do you want to? Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
I'll play
Okay,
it now.
cool. Yeah, play it
And
now.
then just
Then.
edit in the video. Hold on, wait there.
I'm so angry right now. I never thought I'd be a TikTok ranter, especially coming on TikTok looking like this. But I have to say this right now because I've just dropped my kids to school. Both my children come from a two-religion household. So I'm Christian and their dads are Muslim. Now, my eldest daughter, her dad passed away when she was 5 years old. She's now 10 years old. So this Ramadan, her and her grandma, they had a conversation and she decided that she wanted to explore Islam in a more in-depth way. And so she decided she was going to fast this Ramadan and also wear her hijab. Both my children go to a Catholic school because I am Christian. When I've dropped them off at school today, bearing in mind this is the United Kingdom, okay? When I've dropped them off at school today, the head teacher's called me and she's pulled me up and she said to me, "Oh, hi, Mum." So I'm like, "Hi, miss." It's very uncomfortable. When we went to church yesterday, Malika was wearing her hijab and we weren't sure what to do with her. What do you mean? Is Malika a Muslim or a Christian? So I've got to Malika's 10 years old. Malika doesn't know. And she comes from a two-religion household. She's exploring both religions to make an informed decision, which I think more adults need to do. Because you've got people out here just following their parents' religion and they don't have a personal relationship with God. It's very important to me that my children have a personal relationship with God, even if it isn't the religion that I follow. Hence why I allowed her to wear her hijab, even though I don't wear one, clearly, you can see that. And hence why I allowed her to fast. And I've been fasting with her as a support system because I think it's important to support your children through everything that they're going through, okay? Cool. So I've turned to Miss Fernandez, I'm going to say your name. I've turned to Miss Fernandez and I'm like, okay, Miss Fernandez, well, Malika's exploring the religions and I don't feel as though I owe you an explanation. You do understand this is a Catholic school. So I said to her, so are you implying that other religions are not welcome here then? Is that what you're implying? No, Mum, you've got the wrong end of the stick? How have I got the wrong end of the stick? You basically just told me this is a Catholic school and because my daughter is exploring Islam at 10 years old, it's uncomfortable for you guys. She like to me, "Oh, well, we hadn't even noticed that she was fasting. It was just brought to our attention." So negligence 101, because the fast started last week, Thursday. So for a week, You haven't noticed that my child hasn't been eating at lunch. And this is how your children are neglected in the school grounds because they do not care. I kid you not, guys. I'm walking around in circles in the park because I need to burn off this heat that I'm feeling. Extreme and utter anger. And in this fast, I've been really praying to the God I believe in. And I've been asking him to change.
Obviously for me, so I saw the video. We're going to put it up in the edits anyway. And my thing was just that I'm just sick and tired of seeing people complaining about a school system that we all know to an extent is not in favor for us or our children. Now I get it. We all have to send our children to school, so I get it. You got to just comply if you're trying to just get by, and I get it. But in this circumstance here, in my head, I was thinking, what do you expect the school to do? If that's what if you're going to a specific Catholic school, public school, I can understand. Private
even
school.
Catholic schools have have children of other denominations. They have to. You can't have a Catholic school and only accept Catholic people.
So do you?
Catholic children. So to me, them saying they don't know how to deal with it, there must be other Muslim children in that school. There has to be.
This is the thing. I don't know because she didn't mention that in the video.
I went to a Catholic school.
But so would you say there was other Muslim kids in your class? And
I think back on it, yeah, there was a couple
right
man in there that was.
Yeah,
I went St. Thomas the Apostle, innit? Like there was a couple other man in there.
So and that's cool.
And also some people that go to school, they might be Catholic. When they come out, they might be something else. It's like you see my man. He's friends with Giggs, man. And he's a Muslim dude as well. I know he's got like some business. That might be it. Yeah, he was like years younger than me, but like he's Muslim now, isn't it? Like he had this thing where he was donating shoes or something like that.
Okay.
What's his? I can't remember his name. Furious or Fury or something like that. But anyway, he's like well documented, like in pictures of Giggs and whatever, like friends from back in the day. But like he's Muslim now. I don't know if he was Muslim in school. So in a way, I kind of see why they got to accept people.
How difficult it can be to have a Muslim child in the class. What difference is it?
Right. So my thing is this, because the mum now, this is where I was like, all right, cool, because the mum now's gone and give the child, obviously told the child what to do.
Right.
So the mum's now said, no one can't tell you nothing. When you get into school, no one can't tell you nothing. If you want to wear a hijab, you can wear it and and don't let anyone. So I'm sitting there thinking, all right, cool. But what you don't want to do now, because now your child's going to be not even a target, but I feel like now you got two options. Because if the school already doing this and your child wants to take this religion seriously, maybe consider switching school, or maybe consider just, because I've learnt now sometimes with our parenting, yeah, not all of us, but we tend to do this thing where we use our kid as a weapon, or we use our kid back and forth to say, rah, like, don't, what did the teacher say? Go back and you're putting your child in the fight. And realistically, the fight's with you and the actual school. Do you see where I'm coming from? And I feel like for the child, sometimes it can go two ways. The child can get confident now and go into, and that's when you see the videos of them, you know, badding up the teachers, and because their mum has pushed that into their back. Whereas naturally, or their father, naturally, you should say, all right, cool, I'm going to sit down with the head teacher, and if I can't sit down with the head teacher, I'm going to keep coming to the school until I can, or my child ain't going to go to the school.
Yeah, but the thing is, then you end up moving your child from school to school, because the thing is, the majority of the schools do not accept Muslim children to that kind of degree.
Right.
So people should be free to be who they want, as in what religion, and the schools need to just be accepting of that. It makes no, I mean, what is going to be the difference if a child wears a hijab to school? What's the difference? Do you know what I'm saying? They're just trying to make things difficult for the child.
And they're accepting of all these other stuff that's going on in schools.
They're accepting of everything else.
Right.
If your child decides that they want to wear a skirt to school as a boy, they will accept it.
Or they decide they want to be a girl.
Try to make it difficult.
This is the thing.
So at the end of the day, why can't you just accept that someone's... What is so detrimental about somebody who wants to practice their religious beliefs, that, and it's not harming anybody else? So at the end of the day, I would tell my child that they must go to school and be confident, and because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where they go, there's always going to be a level of them not being accepted, and you can't rescue them out of every situation. So you have to just let them be strong and confident in who they are.
So would you consider, because I think for us, even as black people, it's just been a problem for a minute. Even when I was in school, when you lot was in school, before you lot was in school. Do you think it's just now time that we just stop getting into these systems or these schools?
But then what do we do?
So I know homeschooling can be an option for some.
Yeah, that's definitely not an option for everybody. Because as much as I cannot stand the school system, I'm not homeschooling my children because I'm not a teacher, and I would never. I can't homeschool my children. Even the times even when it was COVID, do you know how hard it was to even? Well, luckily my children were a little bit older, so I didn't have to be actually schooling them. But I know a lot of calm parents that turned wicked during COVID because their kids were playing up while they were trying to educate them. So then it's not a matter of me taking my children out of the school. The schools need to adapt, to understand, to know how to deal with different types of people. And it's as simple as that.
So you're more on the front tier of just challenging the actual school system itself.
Definitely. I mean, I've challenged the system of school on various occasions. And to be honest with you, it's the hardest time of my life has been my children going through the British education system. And my son is the last now. And in the last 2 years, I've seen a dramatic change in his school. I'm not sure if it's because they changed head teachers. But, you know, the head teacher that he's got now is somebody that you can actually message and speak to. And kind of, you know, and it's been the easiest journey. I mean, my children don't give trouble at school to that degree. But even them not being troublemakers or whatever, it was difficult. But I just feel like, as a parent, you need to understand, you need to let the school also know that you're one of the parents that if something goes wrong, you will be the person that's going to be emailing. Don't even bother calling. It's all, you know, everything that I've ever done with that school has always been emails because there needs to be evidence of everything that you say. So, you know, I mean, don't want to go off topic because this seems like it's going off topic.
No, it's not really. It's the school system. Yeah, it's still kind of,
Because I've got a similar story.
Yeah, because I was going to say, in that case, because being that kind of parent, for you, it's going to be quite, I wouldn't say easy, but you're willing to actually do that. But then there's a lot of parents that they don't have that fight in them. So for them, it's like, they feel like, oh, I might just have to either sit back or what do they do in that kind of instincts of obviously, you know, fighting the actual situation? Because what you're saying, I agree with, I feel like
they need the support.
So
and I've always said that,
like a union or something like that,
as well,
like coming together
as people, as single black mothers, which I'm not, so I'm just putting it out there. But even I've seen it in the system. Single black parents, not just mothers, single black parents. The school likes to challenge people because they think it's that one person against a whole kind of against the whole school system. That's never fazed me. That's never ever fazed me before. I will just you know, it could be me against the whole school system because you need to just understand, if you know what you know, then it means nothing. But a lot of people are intimidated by that. So there needs to be a system where, you know, even a group where you can say, listen, this has happened to my child and the school have told me that I need to come down and I need the support of 2 other members of the community to come down there with me and just support me while I'm actually at this meeting with the school. Because I've been in meetings with the school where they try to intimidate me and it's just not going to happen. You know, because if you're not talking sense, I'm going to let you know. But at the same time, my child is not going to get away with foolishness at school either. So I'm still not one of those parents that is going to go down to the school and cuss off all the teachers and whatever. If my child is in the wrong, I would never go and cuss the teachers anyway, because that's just not me. However, if my child is wrong, my child is wrong. So I think what the school has also learnt along the years is Kimari can't mess about, Kira can't mess about, Jada can't mess about, because they have a supportive parent here. But if they do something that I don't agree with, then I'm also going to challenge that. And if it doesn't make sense, they're going to need to explain it to me until it makes sense. So
it's mainly,
but support, I would say it's the support, really.
Support, yeah. Because what you're saying makes sense in the sense of, because even now, my son getting in school, and I could see that there were certain situations where they were just addressing his mum. So when his mum's told me now, I'm like, what do you mean? So I've gone down there with her So now it's like, oh, and I've had to make it clear to them, like, look, this is the support system that he has.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. You don't want us to do this. All right, cool. You want us to get a reward chart? I'll get a reward chart. So I got a reward chart for him, and now I'm getting the same emails. I'm getting the same kind of.
A lot of fathers aren't as interactive as you at all, Jesse, and you know this.
Yeah.
You know, so the thing is, to have that type of support is great, but let's be honest, not everybody has that type of support from their children's father. So do you feel like us getting obviously you could probably expand on it more, but us getting like an understanding of unit, because even like with that little girl that got beaten up by these those white people in where is it, Ashford or wherever it was, obviously the response from the community was very good. Respect. I should say respect. The response from respect was very good. There was other people that came alongside that, which was very good as well. But that, I feel like that kind of support system needs to be a lot more present. But anyway, so
well, it's about. I mean, homeschooling is out of the question. It's not going to happen. Everyone keeps talking about it. First of all, it's not even financially viable, because I remember once being told about homeschooling by someone, and then when I did the research on the person talking about it, because they've got like multiple kids, and then the thing is, you're on universal credit and all them things there. Like, no, I'm not saying it in a bad mind way, but it's like this. Let's just break it down the ballistics, innit? School is from this time to that time. Work is from this time to that time. Your rent costs how much it costs. You earn how much. You do not have the money to keep the woman at home to be looking after the kids and teaching them. Man, them just stop doing it. Like, stop talking about this homeschooling thing. In fact, I'll be real. If you're on less than 70k a year, just stop talking about the stay-at-home mum thing and this homeschooling thing. It's not in your. It's not in your budget. It's just not. No. It's silly. Like, if you even look at the cost of all the bills that you got, the debts that you may have, your rent, and how much you're earning, it's out of the question. And it gets silly when people that aren't even earning that money to sustain that. You know what I'm saying? It makes no sense. The majority of people, while their kids at school, that's when they're going to work. You see what I'm saying? They need to go to work to pay the bills. You with me? And then you've got other people, they might be working, getting like subsidized income, so maybe they're working under 20 hours, that kind of stuff, so they don't get capped, and then they can get universal credit money as well. So it's that balance. So once that kind of thing's going on, I beg we stop talking about the homeschooling thing. It's not an option. Okay. That's the first thing. Yeah. And in regards to challenging the school, I got a story, and this happened a while ago. My son, he was going to school, and he came home. I went in his room, I was tidying up, and then I looked at the homework he was doing. And check this, you'll like this. The project was a for and against debate about the good side of slavery and the bad side of slavery. I kid you not. I saw it, I took it out of his hand and I looked at it and I said, who gave you this? My history teacher. I can't remember what my man's name is. I said, you ain't doing that. Wow. I called him up the next day. Now, don't forget, these times I'm working, but I'm flexible working. Goes back to what I said about time. I went back to the school the next day and I said, yo, I don't know who you think like you're giving this homework to, but how are you making my son talk about the good side and bad side of slavery? The receptionist lady, woman with locks, I can tell she ain't seen a black man talk like this in a long time. Like, I was on some bad up thing, innit? I said, listen, call whatever teacher it is you want. My teacher ain't going to that class until it's rectified, because it's history anyway. He ain't like, I'm not saying history ain't important, but ultimately, it's not good. We can miss that out, innit? But it's the insult, innit? And I was the only parent that said anything, because I don't think the other parents check their kids' homework to know. And I'm the young parent. My son was living with me. He weren't living with his mum. So this is what I was on. So then later on, the school called me back, and then we had a meeting and whatever else. And I just made it clear. I said, listen, if this was a Jewish kid, you wouldn't even entertain the idea of the good side or the bad side of the Holocaust. So I don't know if you think it's because you think I'm an idiot or like, that is not going to teach my son as a black man how to navigate in the world as he gets older. So why are you teaching him that? And it's like, they were trying to and ah, and I said, you know it's wrong. But I'll be honest, when I was speaking, I was a bit more crass than I'm talking now. I was on a bad up thing in it, because I think they had to know, and it had to come from me. No, it's disrespectful. It had to be a father as well.
If it came from your son, and I can tell you this, because if it was my son, he has his times where he's really quiet, but he's very quite controversial, and he with his points. And if it was him and he got that homework, he'd have been saying something about it in school, and they would have probably put him into
Yeah.
isolation for, you know, having a point of view.
Probably.
So it was good that you went down there, because if it was a child that had said it, trust me, they would have been
Yeah.
punished for
I
it.
made sure the teacher knew, and I just made it clear. I said, listen, he ain't going in that class then. I said, unless you take him off, unless you change what that is that you're teaching them as far as history is concerned,
love to know
he
the
ain't.
good point.
I just said it to them. He ain't going to that class. I made it properly clear. I said, make him do something else. Make him do extra maths work or something. He ain't going there. Don't be teaching my son about the good side and bad side of slavery. And I don't know what the other kids are on. And then some people may have thought maybe I was being a bit aggressive about it or whatever.
No, you
else.
needed to be.
But we know that.
You needed to be,
We
yeah.
know that. But we know there's someone watching this right now that's saying, well, maybe you should.
Nah, you
and that's-
aggressive. However you feel that moment, you know what I've learned? People respect fear. And when you imply fear
That's what I did.
in a certain way where, not fear, like to say, fear of
Threatening.
consequence.
Yeah,
Literally.
fear of consequence. No,
Fear
no,
of
no, don't say
consequence.
that. No,
Yeah.
no,
No,
don't
you know,
say
'cause-
not fear of consequences.
No,
It should
no.
be fear of
I won't
consequences.
no.
Wiley got fear of consequences.
No, but
Don't
no.
forget it too.
Fear of consequence. I agree with. I was gonna say, you know, fear of obviously, you know, like being physically put hands on, whatever,
But
because I don't want to
funnily
think.
enough, they could have all put that down and said, "Oh, it was quite threatening, and we felt intimidated."
That's cool. I'm all about that. I'm very threatening if I need to be. So you for no, because what it is, yeah, there's consequences, yeah. Like, let's keep it real. We're black, innit? When you mess with, like, how can I put this?
And you name the
There's
race.
certain people. I'm not going to mention any races. There's certain.
Yeah,
There's certain people.
before we get blocked.
No. I'm just keeping it. This is what I'll say.
Cancel.
There's
Yeah.
certain people, if you mess with them, you ain't getting a job again and you ain't working in Hollywood again.
Yeah.
There's certain people, you mess with them, they're flying planes into your buildings.
Wow. Yeah.
You mess with black people and we're marching. I'm not on that. I'm on smoke.
Yeah.
They should
And they for know that, innit?
keep the mic to your.
They for know that. Got me, yeah?
Yeah.
They're supposed to know that. And anyone that thinks that I'm being aggressive, let them think I'm being aggressive, because years later, that's what makes a difference. And the funny thing is, I'm the only parent that said anything,
Yeah.
because the other parents didn't know.
Crazy.
That's it. No, trust.
Crazy.
This is the thing for the other parent, and obviously that's one thing I'm thinking with parenting. What I realize now, yeah, is as I've got older, because before it was like I was part of the group, but as I've got older now, I'm now starting to be singled out as when it comes to parenting, because I've realized there's certain things that I've done that's put me in a position of understanding things a bit more earlier, whereas some people have just got on with it. Like what he's saying in his example, most parents in there, and I know there was enough black kids in that class.
Yeah.
Yeah, loads. St. Thomas the Apostle, bro.
There you go. So they probably
right
got
in
the same homework, but even them, they might have been, I don't know, coming from a religious standpoint, Christian or whatever, probably thought, oh, you know what, like it's probably better just to wait and see, or wait till parents' evening. And for me, I've
Kids are going to
learned,
grow up and vote Conservative.
well, no,
That's what's going to happen.
no, but not even only that. It's just you're not even going to give. You're
I
not.
don't even think they're gonna vote for.
They're going to be on an All Lives Matter thing.
You're going to be.
I don't even know what they're gonna be on, because
Yeah.
you're saying good.
They're going to be on an All Lives
I
Matter
mean,
thing.
How do you even process
Yeah,
that?
but this is where
Mentally.
It comes, yeah, but you see,
Mm.
this is gonna start going off topic. But this is where it comes from. Should we be teaching Black history in schools?
We should. But the thing is,
Absolutely, I have to disagree.
okay,
I don't
let's
want
see.
any school to teach my child about Black history at all.
Okay.
Stick to England history. I will deal with my children when it comes to Black history, because when they get it from me, it's going to be real. So I don't want you to be telling my children, oh, slave, yeah, you were slaves, and then it was 400 years
Okay, yeah,
slaves,
but then-
and then fighting for slavery and slave. There's so much more to Black history that they will not get into, because they don't even know themselves.
That's true, but that's probably why it's more important that there is actually an actual history teacher in there that knows before
They
slavery.
won't do that.
No, wait, stop.
Yeah.
When you say they, yeah, that's a bit of an assumption. I'm not saying what you're saying
Yeah.
ain't true, but the thing is, I went to the same school as my son,
Yeah.
and that was the same school that was teaching me about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
What,
There was
a white teacher in religious
Mr.
studies?
Curtin, and he was Jewish.
Okay.
See? And that's another reason I got mad, because I'm like, this is the same school that taught me. I mean, I knew about it already anyway. I knew about Marcus Garvey and all that because of my parents. But this is the same school that proudly taught me about Malcolm X, the civil rights generation, the difference between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
See, that would have been better if you showed me like the pros and cons of each of those two, the ideologies. So they taught me that. But now you're teaching me. I just thought,
But
what's
is
going
that
on there?
what?
So they know better, basically.
No, but again, are we talking about Day or Mr. Curtis? Did Mr. Curtis implement that in his
Curtis.
teaching?
Yeah.
Or did the school have that in their curriculum?
I wouldn't know.
Because you get
You
individuals.
can't teach Black history from a British curriculum. Absolutely not, because the history, they're only going to tell you history from their perspective.
That's true.
History is not. Unfortunately,
The historian.
there's a whole heap of history that you can't take it from a European perspective.
That's
because
true.
they're only going to give you the side where they look good and other people look bad. Whereas, furthermore, they're not going to come and say to you, well, before it was Egypt, it was Kemet, and in Kemet, it was black people. that built the
All true.
pyramid.
All true.
And before, they're not going to go into that. Whereas, and your children are just going to come out of school thinking, yeah, we were slaves, and there's no more to us than slaves. If you don't teach Black history at home.
That's true, and that goes back to the point I made before. I learned in school, but I got taught at home, and I went to a Saturday school. So what I'm saying is, different people's starting point for learning history starts at some different places. Some people might have learned about Black history prior to slavery. Some people might have learned what's going on during the slavery. Some people might learn like Black history, like civil rights generation. No, you can't control when someone's entry point is. Certain people started listening to rap when I was listening to it, when it was Mobb Deep. Other people might have started listening to it when Nines was rapping. You don't know. So when you're saying they shouldn't teach it in schools, I'm not 100% sure I agree completely. Only reason being because it really depends on when their entry point is. Because in an ideal world, any Black kid going to a school should know about the history before they even go in there anyway.
Right.
So then what then happens is the education they get in school becomes supplementary. It just becomes extra education that on top of what they already have.
But this is different, right? And that's what the extra education is what I'm talking about when it comes to the homeschooling. Because I don't mean it homeschooling in the sense of like instead of school. I'm talking in the sense of like you're saying, because that Black history
is definitely supplementary that needs to be taught at home.
100%.
Yeah,
that has to be. Look, I've got my son watching. My son's 5 now. He's going to be 6 this year, and he's already watched certain videos already.
Yeah, Hidden Colours. My kids watched that when they were little.
Literally.
To the point where now they're just like, oh yeah, that watch it again.
Literally, like, and this is what I'm saying. So I feel like what you're seeing here is parenting from a perspective of obviously not even survival, but obviously understanding and living. Whereas there's some parenting now where it's like, oh, it's the school's job, and and for me, this is why I'm circling back to obviously the whole parenting thing, because now when you get to a certain age, because even like earlier, I was talking to my dad the other day, and obviously me and my dad are in a position now where we can have any kind of conversation underneath the sun, anything, women, marriage, religion, anything. Yeah. So my dad's chatting to me, and obviously he's telling me certain things, and like I asked him, right, like, what was your mentality when you lot first come from Ghana, like into the UK? What was the plan? Because I'm just trying to figure out, you know, like if we all 3 of us in this room said, right, like, cool, let's come, we go fly and go to, I don't know, Dubai for a weekend. You know, we're not just gonna fly there aimlessly. It's gonna have to be a plan, innit?
Yeah.
Like, what was? So I was trying to understand because, and he was saying, yeah, obviously the plan was to come over here, get what we can get from here, work, and then go back. So I was like, all right, cool, but enough people ain't gone back.
Yep, my dad said the same thing.
Right. And I said to him, why didn't you go back? And he
Got comfortable.
My dad, one thing I love about my dad's very open and honest. Even if he knows that it's not the right time to be. Very open and honest, but in a very calm way. He just said, we got complacent with living a different lifestyle to what we thought we were living. So for example, in Ghana, we were restricted. We weren't really kids. We were young adults from the age of however. So we never really had a childhood. We never really had certain things. So we're coming to London now, where we can come and eat Italian. We can come and eat, you know, Turkish food and all this kind of stuff. We could go out partying. Some of us just got caught up because naturally we never really had a plan. We were just trying to escape.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, so when your kids don't do what you want them to do, can you then blame the kids or blame yourself? And he sat there and he was like, you're right. Because the expectations that a lot of parents put on when it comes to parenting, especially from like African backgrounds and whatnot, you know, it's not even an African thing. I've seen it in Asian families, I've seen it in Chinese, you know what I'm saying, like Jamaicans as well. Like, what you see is parents living vicariously through their kids. So I was saying to my dad, can you now understand? Because I told him, I said to him, I'm not being rude, Dad, not to disrespect him, I love my dad, but I said, there's a certain amount of advice that I would take from you, and there's a certain amount of advice that I would take from someone else or just learn it.
Definitely.
Because, but I feel like with some parents, it hits their ego when you do that, because it's like, to them, it's like, no, I'm your parent and I always know better.
Yeah.
But for me, honestly, I stopped listening to my parents from probably the age of, I would say, 18. And that was only literally just because I was in the house. So, you know, when you're in the house, you kind of just, you got to comply. But naturally, I would say I was always doing my own thing because they lacked understand, or they didn't want to understand. To them, it was like, no, read your books. And I'd be like, all right, cool, which one?
Well, then that's where the issue is, because your parents, or our parents, I say, they got their information from a certain place at the time, and then we got our information from a certain place at the time. Because don't forget, they went to school back where they was. We went to school here.
Yeah.
And then also with these kids today, they got access to the internet.
Yeah.
So, but now we're in a generation where we're all getting information from the same place.
Not even that though. I feel like my parents were okay still, as in sitting down having conversations and those type of things. But I think even now, when it comes to my children, I'm open to them teaching me stuff. You know, I'm open to them for me to say, like Kimari will say, yeah, I obviously I want to do business, but it's not the type of business that you do. And then he's explaining to me a type of business that I didn't really knew. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, you know, like before I thought that the type of business that this is business. And then now he's explaining to me this, you do, you know, buy, sell, bring back to the consumer. That's not the type of business that I want to do. And then he's explaining to me other things. And then and he's 15 and I'm saying, you know what? Your kind of business sounds like the type of business that I should have been doing when I was your age, to be honest. But this is what I know. So this is what I have to continue doing. But I'm glad that you don't feel like you need to follow exactly what it is that I do. Do what it is that you need to do. And even with my girls, it's the same thing. Like, you take a certain amount of listening to me, but at the same time, you need to have your own mind, because I've always had my own mind. And my own mind has got me very far in life. And I feel like, you know, like you just have to believe your own mind ultimately. Yeah,
it's very key what you just said there. You allow your son to teach you certain things as
definitely.
Well. That wasn't running in my household, boy. That was no. I'm honestly, and you know what it is.
Only now of this where my dad is now, and even my mum, obviously. But then they will in the actual household. It was like, what have I achieved to even be turning around and telling them nothing?
You know what it is.
Whereas for me, Kimari doesn't have to achieve something,
right,
for me to say you can educate me on something.
Is that because sorry to cut you? Is that because you've installed in him
to think for himself?
It's not just that as well. It's because certain things, your parents or whatever, you can now verify what someone else says really quick. So then it's like when I remember I told you about the mixer, and then it's like my man told you something else, and it's like straight away you got it.
No, but I even say even better. Your parents can say to you, for example, smoking's bad for you, or alcohol is bad for you. But because you've got access to the internet and you can research for yourself and see what you're seeing, you don't actually have to. You probably even know more than them.
But in that aspect. What I realised as a parent as well? I realised how influential you are as a parent, which is why a lot of the things that I believe, I don't even really want to tell my children that I believe certain things, because I want them to think for themselves. Because I think, I'm not sure if they're as strong-minded as me to think for themselves. Whereas for me, my parents told me something and I said, that don't sound right. My children might not be that kind of child that can say, if I say to you, I don't believe this, you might just say, well, mum says she don't believe it, so I don't believe it. I want you to just, so even when they do ask me about my opinion on, say for instance, religion, I'll let them know, this is my opinion, so please do not my opinion
research.
isn't what your opinion needs to be. Go out into the world and learn for yourself and whatever, because I don't think there's nothing wrong with having a different opinion than somebody else. You know, for me, it's just, even when it comes to religion, I don't feel like if I decide that I don't believe in this and you believe that you do believe in that, that's fine. You just, it's not, it's not a problem. So I just think, for me, I just want my children to be open and be able to think for themselves. That's just the most important thing for me.
Yeah, no, 100%. But this is where I'm now seeing with, because obviously I've got a lot of friends, right, that have done basically everything their parents have told them to do. So especially a lot of my female friends, they're, mid-30s now, well-educated, every degree you can think of.
This is going.
Money, finances, everything, yeah? And they're finding it hard to even, I wouldn't even say the basics, but they're finding it hard to even keep a partner or keep a man, or they're finding it hard to even
Their parents are on them. Why are you not married yet?
That's it. So there was a I'm not going to mention.
Well, Mum, I'm not married yet because I'm looking after our little brother that you said I got to look after, and I got to still spend all my money and send it back to you back home.
Don't lax. I'm getting there. Yeah, you know what's that? You're just synergy today. I'm getting there. You know what's that? Literally, that's exactly. And this is, so I had a discussion. I'm not going to mention who, but same kind of setup. Mum was chatting to me, and then obviously you've got the daughter, yeah. And it was like, yeah, so and so's not married, and I'm getting worried. And I said, "Rah, have you enabled her to get married? What do you mean? Have you enabled? So, for example, what did you put in place for her to marry a man? Like, did you even sit down and have a conversation?
Is your dad gonna pay for the wedding?
About sex? That as well, because even with that, when I said that, oh well, yeah, he should, but I'm not going to contribute. I was like, yeah, but you've got a lot of contribution towards how the wedding should be, but you don't want to put in a penny. Whereas in some cases, some families will be like, all right, cool, well, we've got a budget for you lot. If you want to get married, it's 20 grand. You can use it to buy a house, or you can use it on a wedding. It's up to you. Do you see where I'm coming from? Or they would say, look, like in some households, they will say, all right, cool, I don't mind who you get. Let's have a conversation about partners. I don't mind who it is as long as they love you, But I'm saying to this particular person, you ain't done none of that. So now the person's approaching the 40s, and now you're worried. But even now in your worrying, you're still not doing anything. And you don't realize that you've been the cause of it. So that person didn't take it lightly. And that person was going hard. Nah, that you kids, you need to, why can't she go out there and learn? I said, you acting like there's a path that you can follow, like a bus route. You know the ones there, like you can just follow and that. That's not how it works. So I was trying to explain to her, that mentality doesn't leave you. So even in your 40s, you can still feel like a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm coming from? So, but, and again, back to the whole dependency thing, because she was telling me, oh, well, what do you feel like you meant, as you as a man, don't you feel like, I said, listen, I learned the wrong way.
Wait, what did she say? You as a man, what?
You as a man, don't you feel like you learned for yourself? And I was like, yeah, but I learned the wrong ways. I didn't learn the right ways in getting into a relationship. I learned from the wrong people in the wrong ways. And from learning from that, that's when I was like, you know what? I can't, this ain't going to work because this is the result.
Yeah, but you still have to learn. Regardless. You
Right.
still have to learn. Doesn't matter. For me, it's when you try to stop your kids from bucking their toes. Sometimes they have to buck their toes so that they realise how they did it, and they need to,
There you go.
and this is what it is. Like, I do say to them though, you don't need to go through every mistake. You can learn from people around you. You can learn from me. You can learn from your dad. You can learn from other people. And that's when I was growing up. That's how I learned. I knew I didn't have to make every mistake just because I'm still young. So at least I could just make this mistake. Because I think a lot of people think because they're young, it's all right for them to make a mistake. What a mistake is.
A wise man
You
learns
know?
from other people's mistakes.
For me, it's like you're always gonna make mistakes in life, but for me, I'm avoiding the ones that I know that I can avoid.
100%.
Why am I gonna put myself in a situation where because it feels nice? No. I know what a mistake is, and I'm not trying to get myself into it because I haven't got any time. And now I realize I really didn't have time because look how fast life goes by. You
Trust me.
know. So for me, it's the same thing with my kids. Like, you don't have to make every mistake. Or if they say, oh, yeah, but you, sometimes your communication. I said, you know what? Do it better than me. I said, I am who I am. But if you think there's anything with me that you can do better, please. I'm not telling you that I'm perfect. Just do it better than me. That's all.
I think, you know, when they say stuff like communication, I've realised something about people, even stuff like this podcast. There's communication and they'll complain about how you're saying it. But then a lot of the cases, it's how you're interpreting it. You with what I'm trying to say? Like, if I say a specific thing, one thing that I know that is big with me, some people, they complain, I just don't like how you said it. And then I say, this is what I do to nullify that, because I think some people get distracted. I said, am I lying? That's what I just say. Am I lying? Am I wrong? And then someone else will say the exact same thing. Yeah, but they didn't say it the same as you, and you didn't listen to them either. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I get fed up when people waste time complaining about how it's said, or they're too harsh, or maybe it's me because I've got a Jamaican grandma or something. I don't know.
It's a bit of like how the Malcolm and Martin Luther thing is. They both say the same messages. One just says it in a very softer way, and the other one just says it in a very direct and harsh way. But no one really listened.
Boy, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, I don't think they had the same message at all.
In what sense? Just in terms of execution, or in terms of just
I feel like
overall?
Martin Luther King was more, let's just all be friends. That's the truth. I mean, and Malcolm X was by any means necessary. To me, it's two different messages. Honestly, Malcolm X is more my heart. Like, by
Same.
any means necessary. Whereas Malcolm X was like, I see a dream of my
Martin
child
Luther.
playing with this one and that one. It's like,
But
you know what? I'm not saying either one of the messages were good or bad or wrong or right. All I'm trying to say is there was a different message. Malcolm X was more, we need to be doing things on our own and we can't be depending on these people, because no matter how nice and soft we give it to them, it's always going to be us against them. Whereas Martin Luther King had a dream, and the dream still ain't really come to how it's supposed to be.
I think there's certain points that we're talking about in their life, though, innit? Because apparently, you'll also hear there was parts where both of them kind of changed their mind. Like after Malcolm X come from Mecca, he kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Malcolm X, he started getting more militant. Martin Luther King started getting more militant. But again,
They both wanted peace.
We weren't there. But
We only get the perspective of whatever we get.
which goes back to why you was talking about why Black history shouldn't be taught in schools, because it then goes back to how they're being taught. But I would argue, I think it should be taught in schools for this same discussion. Exactly why, because you'll get to see, hold on a minute, my parents taught me this way about these people, but my schools teach me that way about these people. Why is that? Because when Martin Luther King died, bare people who aren't black celebrate like the anniversary, like remembering Martin Luther King, XYZ, and they did the same thing with like Muhammad Ali. But then bare Muslims came out, hold on a minute, you never liked him when he was alive. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's good to kind of get both sides of like who's teaching you these things to see what their intent is.
The problem with teaching the Black history in school for me is, I agree with what Caren's saying in terms of, like, I'm not even angry at them anymore, because I get it. In your mind,
I am.
The perspective that you see is you lot having the ships going, the plantations were running, they weren't no real kind of it was just a business for you lot. Do you see where I'm coming from? So that's how you lot see it. That's how you lot are taught, even up until today. Whereas what I can probably say where you're coming from, I could see how that could work is they would have to invite a black scholar or someone in that Pacific community in and have them full-time on the curriculum doing a whole entire program.
Definitely.
But this is where I now look at it and say to myself, why it can't be taught is because them school systems were built to make sure that we don't even get that type of education.
Definitely.
So for them to allow that in, it's like they're having to go against their own. So this is why I say with schooling mentally, or even with parenting mentally, it starts literally from the home in terms of like how you're teaching your child certain things. So even like my son would say to me, like he'd be like, oh, like, where are we from? And I'd be like, you're from Ghana, and you know your mum's from Grenada. He goes, where's Ghana? That's the wrong question to ask me. Went straight to not hobbycraft. What B&M went and got a map. I said, that's it. Saturdays, we're not going to go out to the park. We're going to learn where you're from. And YouTube is one of the biggest things, because YouTube now I can put on Ghana. I can put on like Wode Maya or something like that.
He asks you the question you've been waiting for his whole life.
Literally. You know what's there? Like, I'm like, what? You want to ask me?
Now is the time.
Hey, I told the kid his
You're gonna
name.
know who your dad is today.
Yep. I said, listen, this is where you're from. Yeah. I said, obviously, you're from Grenada as well. And obviously, with the Grenada history, it's a little bit different to the African history due to the timing of when people went over there. But I did explain to him that don't feel like those islands were only inhabited or they were just bare derelict. There were black people prior to that, but culture and influence and other stuff has changed. So I brought everything down to him. So to a point now, he can write his name, his full Ghanaian name, everything, So, and I feel like for him, he feels empowered because watch this, World Book Day comes now. Last World Book Day, he wanted to be Spider-Man. So I was like, all right, cool, no worries. This World Book Day, I'm like, all right, cool. So what? Now I want to be Black Panther, Dad. So I'm like, no, but you got Miles Morales. That's the Black. Nah, I want to be the Black Panther. So I'm sitting there thinking, I know he doesn't even really mess with the Black Panther as much. Cause I know it's Spider-Man for him, and what's the other one again? He loves not Batman. But anyway, so when I saw that, I was thinking to ask. I said, why? He said, no, because obviously the Black Panther is African, and it's like an African god, or
and he realizes that he's African.
There you go. So subconsciously he's making a link. So he's gonna watch that back when he's probably 12 or like raw, like that's and smile because he may not remember him cognitively doing that, but subconsciously that's what's programmed.
I want to be there when he finds out who Jack Kirby is.
That's a whole nother discussion.
I want to be there.
But even then, I don't think he would see it how we would see it, because remember we read the comics. Our generation read comic books. They experience movies. Like my son has watched so much Marvel movies, and so much. It's mad. Like when I look at it, and I think to myself, I had to wait 2 years, 3 years for that to come on tape. And if it came on tape, you would even lucky to even get. You know what? Remember getting certain places it sold out.
Yeah,
and you got to go Blockbuster. What's there? You got to go Blockbuster and rent
outside and them thing there.
Yeah. So. But yeah, in terms of that I feel like that's the good thing with me, what I'm learning now with the parenting. But I'm seeing obviously online is online, innit? But I feel like where we're failing a lot more, even with relationships as well. Back to that, that example I gave you about the mum and the sister that I was talking to, and I was just saying to them, at some point you have to take accountability. See, when you don't take accountability for your own mistakes, you show your children that that's okay. So now they go into the world thinking that way as well. So again, you're expecting your daughter to be married by now, but her sole responsibility, and this is what you told her. See, when you go to school, you don't have friends. You come home on the bus. When you come home on the bus, you sit down and you look after your little brothers and sisters. That's it. So she's done that for 10 years. She doesn't even know how to even interact or know when a guy actually is really serious. So what they do is they go by their friends. And we all know that friends naturally, not all friends, but majority of friends are going by society standards. What they watch. You know what I'm saying? You're lucky to get a good friend that would actually...
Like, the way how society is set up now, I don't know about other kids. I don't know. I think this internet has kind of messed up the kids as well.
Too much
with
choice.
their social skills.
Yeah.
Because the way how we used to just go out and meet people, they don't do the same thing. I don't know. This is what I kind of see. Like they don't go, and it's like they'd rather just say, yeah, what's your snap, and then just be speaking to each other on Snapchat.
Weird.
And it's like, even when I hear them, my kids speaking, and I'm thinking, so you don't have telephone conversations? Like
they don't.
It's like
they
no
argue over text messages.
It's the way how they interact is completely different. So even with your friend and her mum saying she's not married yet, like if she ain't one of them girls that's just gonna be going out there and whatsoever, I don't know how they meet. I don't know how they meet people nowadays.
Wait, the friend that you just mentioned, the one that the mum said she's not married, is the mum married? No, it just dawned on me. Is she? No, I can ask, right? You brought it up.
She's divorced.
Oh, I did. Move on.
So, but can you see where I'm coming?
How old is she?
She's
almost 40.
She almost 40. Yeah, the mum's.
She's not with anybody.
No, she's not with anybody. I think she might have tried.
Yeah.
But again, with her, the reason why it's gonna be very difficult for her is because she's become the man that she wants. So she's got the job. she's got the salary, she's
But
got
where did she
the.
go to meet people?
So she's tried the online dating thing.
Oh Lord.
Most men feel intimidated by her.
Is that what she says?
That's what she says. But I said to her,
Does
"What
she
men are you going
travel?
for?" There you go.
No one's intimidated.
She won't. So I'm saying to her, the dating thing is different now. Obviously, I'm.
Yeah, I ain't got a clue.
You don't know what's
I've
there.
been married for 22 years.
You don't even have to.
You know what I'm saying?
You don't have to be
know.
single to know. It's just the way people talk. Remember,
But it's just with my kids. It's like I said, go back to my kids. They don't like. Even the other day, Kira said can she go to Leicester Square? I said yeah. And then my mind was saying to tell her to go Trocadero Centre. Then I was thinking, well, maybe Trocadero Centre don't even exist anymore.
You don't.
Because
Yeah.
Trocadero Centre was the place.
That was the place, yeah.
that was the place.
That was the
Oh,
way.
is there-
I've got certain
was the
people watching this podcast
place.
right now, and I met them at Trocadero.
I mean,
Yeah.
Trocadero Centre is the place. And the thing is, I'm
I had a
not
lot
one
of
them
beef with
parents
people in
that's just
Trocadero as well.
Don't speak to no man and this and that. I'm not like that, right? But obviously, you need to know yourself as a woman. But at the same time, you need to go out there and meet people. But then it looks like there ain't none of that going out and meeting people thing going on.
Nah.
It's just all. So this is why, as well, for me, it's so important for me to travel with my children on a regular basis because, as well, they need to see that there's more to life than just the United Kingdom. There's a whole world out there of people with different, I try to let them experience life on a different level because maybe England just ain't it right now, but maybe there's other places, even like Ghana, where they're not so into the whole social media thing, where people are still kind of interacting on a normal level.
Yeah.
It's like, boy.
And just to point from Ghana, because I asked my dad, I was like, right, like, how did you meet my mum? And he would speak about how, my mum was I think she was nurse or doing nursing or studying nursing. And so they met kind of like in between. I think she was going to the market or something like that, or he was just, in the area and they started chatting. But he would say that, my mum, in other words, was acting stush because obviously she thought my dad thought it was too nice. Or my dad back then was that type of guy. He was, the afro was all neat, they were very, ones there, like, he's very much like, and he was tall, so a very charismatic person, as they would say.
He said he looked like my man from Small Axe with the glasses.
He never wore glasses though, but no, not him, yeah.
You know what character I'm talking about?
I think so, vaguely.
He's a black dude and he was a Valerian in Game of Thrones.
Small
Black dude,
axe.
he had glasses and he was John Boyega's dad. Small Axe, man. He had the whole afro as well. You've seen it, man.
Get what Game of Thrones?
No, the
Okay.
same actor I'm talking about that had the afro described like what your dad said, yeah. He was also in Game of Thrones. He was the dude, he was a king of, no, that's it. Who's the ones that ride the dragons? What they called?
Targaryens.
Yeah, that's it, Targaryens.
Yeah.
The black dude with the grey hair.
What?
Yeah,
Corlys Valerian.
Yeah, but he was in Small Axe as well, and he had an afro like what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
I'll
But
find a picture now.
yeah, I'm gonna put it on the. Let me put a good picture of it in the edit.
And that was before they was getting fake hairline, so I know it was real. Your dad had the real thing.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, and on Ghana, they couldn't to get a fake hairline. They'd be looking at you like you're an alien because it's like, why would your hairline just go bald? And I think
I saw the wickedest fake hairline in Atlanta the other day. Oh my gosh.
what
Crazy. And
Man.
dripping. Yeah.
it was dripping.
Oh, I could not believe. I've never seen it before.
What do you mean dripping?
It was dripping.
It was dripping, like literally in the bit, and the man's talking, like really nice guy, like talking to me and Buck, and I'm thinking, and I'm wanting to say to Buck, can you see the man's head dripping?
If my hair goes bald, I'm going bald. I ain't getting no
we
fake
came back the
hairline.
lift, and I was like,
Hey.
did you see the man's head? And Buck was like, no. I was like, his hair was dripping.
What was it dripping
The
like?
black was dripping from his
No, it's a
face.
powder. It's a powder.
No, it's a
thing.
spray.
Yeah.
No. This one was black, was drip like it was a older man, but you know them really kind of bougie old men.
Yeah. Like a Clive
Proper,
Davis.
It was like he was sweating.
I've got to say something about this. No, I've got to say something. So, all my people that's watching this right now that went St. Thomas the Apostle, yeah, I got cussed about this. Our school was strict on the hair. You couldn't have below a level 2.
Yeah, I
whatever.
remember, yeah.
Yeah, so there would be sometimes you go to the barbers and your hair don't grow back in time. So, you know what we had to do to kind of mask it off, like we never got a fade? You had to put shoe polish in our head. No, black shoe polish, just to kind of make you look more black. No, but we did it because we didn't want to get suspended from school.
Yeah.
So a couple man
What?
used to.
the thick cream thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like the one that you just on the sponge or whatever.
Yeah, you know,
we just put it.
polish.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
You know the one where you dip into the thing.
Yeah.
But we weren't doing it because it was style. We was doing it because we didn't want to get suspended from school.
Yeah.
So I did that a couple times.
Health and safety.
And a couple man would diss me in school for it. That I did that. But look where we are now.
Your bald head.
Yeah.
You put in, you draw.
No, your hair wouldn't be bald.
Yeah, but this is what.
Yeah, that's what they're doing now.
This is what it is now.
So I just saw that, and it's like I never forget one of my friends. I don't know where you are. His name was Patrick Okoye. He was in my class.
Sounds
if you're
familiar.
watching this, you get me. He was from he's from South, from the ends, and he would tell other man that didn't go our school and said, yeah, Wayne used to put shoe polish in his head. So obviously they're hearing it's like, what's wrong with my man? And they would laugh. But again, look where we are now.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is shoe polish for real in that spray, because that's
what I thought. Because I went to the barber's one time. And it's
they're
like
doing it in the barbers now.
Yeah, because
Kimari was saying to me last week, oh yeah, that man, that, and I was saying, what?
Yeah, man.
And he said that when I was saying to him, yeah, that barber looks like he said, basically the barber sprays the hairline.
That's what happened to me. I went to the barber's, and then it's like, when I got my hair cut.
Why would you spray your hairline though? It's not even permanent.
This is he cut my hair and then he put some spray. I said, what's that? He said, oh yeah, it's a little. It's like
it's like a little like a tattoo kind of thing.
Yeah. People who spraying their head.
But then I said to him,
you know what I'm saying?
But then I said to him,
start saying with a wig on her head.
But for a man to do it though.
No, but wait. But listen, I said to a man, but I got to go home and wash my hair though. He said, nah, man, you don't have to wash that, man. Just wear that for the weekend. And I'm like, so what? Man, then put that in their head and don't wash their head then.
Brother, them Americans, Steve Harvey, all the man there.
Americans, this is in Brixton.
Right, that's what I'm saying to you.
Well, they're doing it now, but it's stupid.
It's
I tell when I go to the barbers, I say don't put it in my head.
If you have a problem with going bald, just go and get a hair transplant.
I'm not doing that either.
I mean, I'm just saying, if it means that much to you, go and get a hair transplant.
How much does a hair transplant cost roughly?
I have no idea.
No idea.
Something to do
It's
with
grand though, right?
$3 grand in it, I think. You can get down here. You can get down here. I know a few people have got it down here.
I can do a lot with $3 on this. I'm not doing. No, I'm sorry, I'm not doing.
Yeah,
it.
but it's your priorities, isn't it? It's what you want to do.
I'm
You
bored.
know what I'm saying? Yeah. But some people don't want to go. There's some young people in their teens that are literally going bald.
LL Cool J ain't got a hair transplant. I don't need a hair transplant.
LL Cool J is different though. He's a celebrity, you know. So.
But I mean, I don't have a problem.
He's got the means to get it.
But
But I feel like with, for me, I'm asking man, then why are you getting bored? Because this new hair you're gonna get, it could be going the same way as well, bro. What's in your life?
And then you're gonna have long back and sides instead.
It's like with the whole BBL thing with girls. I just what we just said.
Because you're gonna have bare hair growing here, and it's
gonna look weird. Like you're gonna have to keep getting on one level. But it's like I feel like even like with the girls, like when I chat to some girls and they're like, oh, I might just can't get my body done, you know. I'm like,
yeah,
you're gonna spend $7 grand to go Dominica Republic, or wherever it is. Then it's 6 weeks recovery because you can't sit normal. There's a way you gotta sort of be and lay down, and then after that, there's still like another 2 weeks or what. I just said you could spend half of that money,
and they can't sit down on the plane as well.
On a gym membership with a gym instructor and a chef, and you get not even the body that you want, the body that your body is, because some of the bodies that some of them are going for is not realistic. So even like with Mandem, I see a man them getting a lace front, so they put the dreads over their head, and I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking, if you got a woman at home and your woman's happy with you without, like, why would you want to go and do that?
She's probably done it as well.
No, but even so, the vanity, I feel like with women, I'm not trying to say that it's what I prefer, but I get it with women because their identity is about making themselves up. Their identity is about, that's them. Women can go in there, put makeup on it. That's what. I
call them the BBL community.
But for Mandem now, like even when I see not Funk Master Flex, the Hot 97. What's my man's name again? That was a freestyles man. What's his name again?
Funk Master.
Funk Flex. I think it's Funk Flex.
Yeah, it's Funk Flex.
He's getting liposuction. Oh. I'm like.
Yeah, but it's the generation in the world that we're living in.
I think Funk Flex is older than me.
Yeah,
very effeminate.
But still, the world has become really.
It's too blurred for me.
Yeah, it's becoming very blurred.
Yeah.
And if you say anything about it, you seem like it's not like how you're saying it. Like men are like that now too. Man, trust me, men now
Yeah.
also want the same treatment that women get.
Man,
It's
them
not
are
so clean cut how it used to be.
Man, them are getting
Yeah,
fake
man want
hairlines,
you to-
but they're not getting their prostate checked.
I don't
It's
even want
mad.
to go into another topic, but man want to be taken out and wined and dined. It's as well. I mean, obviously not many guys. I mean, that I interact.
Where is this
with.
happening?
Nah, man want to be wined and dined and pet and pampered now, and woman to spend money on them type of things. This is the world that we're living in now, and the thing is, women now, when we have those type of expectations, we're gold diggers. This is what you call a soft. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
No, but this is no, because it's.
No, I'm
it's
joking. I know what you're talking about.
It's
but-
interesting because for me, it's like, obviously, even back to the whole parenting thing, yeah.
I mean, this ain't my world. I'm very much well taken
Married
care
people
of.
always do that, don't they? They
Yeah.
always get so glad married now, and it's
Now,
like,
you know what?
They always do it.
No, you know what? Nowadays,
So glad I'm
no, but
married
no,
now.
but
I've been married, Wayne.
no, but it's
I've been married. So the thing is,
I
but I'm
get
telling
it.
you, it's not my world. I have an old school, very old school husband. So the fact of the matter is, I'm telling you from the, and I'm not trying to bring the fact up. I'm just trying to tell you what I'm seeing in the world now, what people are actually allowing and accepting.
It's interesting though, because you said you're old school, but you also
Yeah.
said I got an old school husband. I've been hearing a lot of women saying they're old school too, but there's no husband. So I think somebody's lying, not you. I'm saying.
Yeah, but you can still be old school and not have a husband.
you can.
I'm not- you're right.
No, you can 100%
No,
be
you-
old school
you
and
can,
not have a
you
husband,
can.
because if I did not find the right husband, I would be a single old school woman.
I agree with you, but what I think is happening now is there's a
Yeah.
lot of people pretending to be old school.
Yeah.
You with what I'm trying to say? Like
Wait,
when I hear certain things from, like, they'll say they're old school, but I see certain tattoos or certain other things. Certain things just don't match up. If you're old school, how comes you got that?
Yeah, I think
I think
my husband is very old school, and I have old school ways.
I know this.
I have old school ways, but I'm not old school in everything.
I'm talking about
Definitely
I'm talking
not.
about a woman that will stand next to you and pretend she's old school too, and man them
Yeah.
don't know the difference. Because, for example, like you and someone that says that they're old school too, standing next to you, someone that's the age of, say, two of our friends here, they don't know the difference. Machine you, they don't know your story. I know you, but
Yeah.
they don't. So then what you get is you get a lot of chameleons. That's another term that's going around.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
people
yeah,
start
yeah.
pretending. So people start calling themselves old school.
I mean, it
And here's my thing.
yeah.
I think you're not old school. You're new school. It didn't work. Now you're old school. That's what happened.
They're trying to
think-
go back.
You know what? It depends. If you say to someone, "Why do you think you're old school?" and then they can say, "This is the things that these are the reasons why I think that I'm old school." Like I said, I think I have old school ways. But I also have a lot of things where I don't think old school, because I don't think everything old school is great either.
Yeah.
A lot of old school things need to be left in the old school.
So speaking of old school, with parenting, because it's actually a good segue, because it's like now, I feel like that old school, like what we're talking about, has gone, because essentially we've removed, I feel like this parenting for the last 50 years has removed shame. So when you remove shame, this is where you're getting all these blurry kind of lines where
Yeah.
a man, like I see one the other day, I was doing Uber, I picked him up, and he's got in the car, he's in his Crocs, I don't know if it's tracksuit, and he's wearing a bonnet.
Yeah, the bonnet's a bit. Yeah.
I said, what's going on? He's like, yeah, good. He said, you good, boss? I said, yeah. I said, bro, why are you wearing a bonnet on your head?
He had plaits or something.
I don't know what he had. I asked him, why are you wearing a bonnet on your head? He's like, oh, it just keeps my hair nice.
But a
and that.
do-rag, innit? I mean,
I wear do-rag.
That's what I say to you. But it's the
I wear
fact
that when I
that
go to sleep.
no, but it's the fact that you're wearing
Waves.
a bonnet out.
no, but why even wearing a bonnet in?
There you go.
As a man.
And that's what I said to him. And he's like, oh, obviously, like it's just like, obviously, then we was talking, he just said, no, you know, it is obviously like, the girls, like, when I wear a bonnet, like, it's kind of, I was like, you're doing this for girls. Is this what you lot are doing now? He was about 17, 18. And I'm like, bro, take the bonnet off your head.
Okay, let me.
You know the ones there? The bonnet, bro, you don't have to do things to get appreciation from other people. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the bonnet wasn't made for men.
If you are a man,
Yeah.
if you are a man, and you don't possess one of these, I don't trust you.
Did you bring this in?
Yes,
Specifically?
to fix your thing. No, I didn't.
I was
If you do not have
I was
one
gonna
of,
say.
if you do not have one of these, I do not trust you. I know that if my car breaks down, you can't help me. But now you're telling me about man's wearing bonnets.
That-
We are done. This is why aliens don't stop. They fly right past us.
Well, no, they're here now. But what'd you call it? There's a whole.
That wasn't even planned. I put it for the other thing to fix the light. Remember?
Oh, okay, cool. I was thinking these man. But even with that now, they've got an excuse for that because I used that the other day and one boy was
you
like,
can get
bro,
it from Pound Shop. That costs £6.
he's like, bro, I can just call someone to fix it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, and I get, you know what? And I get some of the new school things. I do get it.
That's because fathers ain't in the home.
Even like, well, not even only that.
Trust me, Buck don't have no toolbox, and he will say the exact same thing. I can afford to get someone to come and fix it.
Yeah, he says
There
that
you go.
now because you're
I guess.
no, you're Jamaica Valley doing up like you're doing bits that weren't how it was before. I know if I break down, Buck can come save me.
No, trust me.
No, not now. He ain't gonna do it. He's gonna send someone else.
100%, he ain't gonna be.
What, he ain't gonna, or he don't know how to?
No, which part?
Nah, man. Listen,
I'm
every
telling you
Jamaican
this-
man was an electrician back in the day. They knew their thing back in
I
the day.
told you, bro, it's different, bro.
no,
Now you're seeing that. Remember, he's older than you.
No.
That's all I'm saying to you, bro.
They're not all the same.
They're not all the same,
I'm
man.
telling you, they're not all the same. My
Because-
dad is the master of can do everything. My dad,
You see me?
He's the master, but
This is-
the thing is with Buck, the thing that I actually do love is he might not be able to fix it, but he'll be able to afford to get somebody to fix it.
Yeah.
And
Alright,
you know
fine.
what? It's either one or the other. You can't just stand there looking at me. It has to be done. So
Right,
it's
I'm
either
gonna
you
call
can
him
afford
Brigadier
to-
Buck now.
But this is what I was trying to say. Can you see now where, and again, some of these things are not wrong, yeah? But what I'm finding out now is that obviously what we looked at as old school, just like our parents in terms of parenting, does that really apply in today's? So even, for example, with ownership, back in the days, we'll probably buy our own cars, right?
Right.
Fix them up. You might
still
have to
do it.
change this. Right. The kids just walk in there now with credit and get a car on finance. Some of them even got leasing plans now where you don't have to even own a car. So, because naturally most people are getting a car for the image. Although the logistics, even with the logistics, it kind of still makes sense now, but you've got Uber now and you've got Bolt, you've got all these other things that can get you about, and obviously public transport. But for them now, everything is just going based upon what they can access and what they need. So a man saying, right, like, I don't really need to be toolboxing or fixing this. I'll just go on bark.com,
Yeah.
get someone to come in, you know, or go on Gumtree.
I don't know. You know what? Everybody doesn't think the same. I think that's just basically how we have to. There isn't, and I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. It's great if you can do all of those things. It's fantastic if you can.
It's Vicky, open the door, I think.
But you know, I don't feel like for a man. I just think you need to be able to get things done. But if you can't do it, I think you need to be able to find a way. It's just as simple as that. You can't look at me when it comes to certain things, and it's so if my car, for instance, breaks down, I know it's not, well, for me it's just like, oh, it needs to get fixed. I'm not expecting you to fix it, but I know you can't fix it, so just it needs to get it needs to be
I've just
fixed.
done? After me showing off like that, bare people when they brought down, they're gonna think they can call me now, you know. Nah, don't
Call
call me.
Wayne.
No,
Wayne Riley.
I will be.
Hit him up at Instagram when you want to break down. Yeah, he'll give you a quote and a fee.
I'll be hitting you up.
He'll come with his toolbox.
Definitely.
Mr. Fix
you
It.
drive a German whip, I ain't fixing this.